these objects, because seeing these objects brings this story to life. So that's the overall context of the show. Although we create room environments, all these different things, the objects tell these stories. So in the beginning there were two guys, James Perry and Joe Ismay, who had an idea, a dream to change transatlantic travel. You know, this is the middle of the Industrial Revolution, and there's people immigrating from Europe to the United States looking for a better life, and this was going to make it so much better, so much more comfortable, so much more luxurious. The dream was build 3 ships, the Olympic, the Titanic, and the Gigantic, and to change transatlantic ocean travel forever, which they did do. The most luxurious, the most opulent, and so on. So we're going to walk now back in time to 1908, when we start talking about the design of the ship. You will see in this gallery, we're in 1908. You see the pictures of the Harland and Wolff shipyard, where the architects and draftsmen spent all their time by hand. There wasn't any CAD computers back then. Thousands and thousands and thousands of drawings. The workers in Belfast, as you look in the back, this is the gantry. There were dual gantries. This is the Olympic, and the Titanic was built right next to it. They were built at the same time. There were 30,000 men who worked on, or men and women who worked on building the ship. And this is just an image of some of that work, the deck plans. In this room, we feature objects that are tools or material that was a part of the ship, tools they would have used to build the ship, steel and elements that were on board the ship. And we have this great model of the Titanic that shows you all the levels of the deck, you know, the size, the scale. You know, you wonder what these cables are on top. The Titanic was one of the first ships to have a Marconigram, which is a telegram, which comes into play later on in our story. It was the largest moving object ever built by the hands of man at the time. It was exciting. You know, this is sailed in 1912, almost 100 years ago today. It set sail on April 10th. So we're going to go now and walk on board the ship. You'll have a chance, I think, later to come through and study more the objects more closely. But let's try and keep moving, because there's a lot to see. Whoa, that's a lot. So here we are, next to the great ship. We call this the Departure Gallery. Here we talk about Captain Smith, who I think some of you might have met earlier. He's wandering around. It just so happens he came back to see us. At this point, you would... Oh, there he is now. Hello, Captain.
Oh, wow.
Pleasure to see you, sir.
Well, I've understood that there's a few that are here that are third class.
Oh.
Well, we want you to know you're as welcome as any. We're happy to have you on board. However, we do have rules and regulations. Except for church on Sunday, you will stay up in the grand staircase. You understand that? And no matter how embarrassing it might sound, I must ask you, have you been sprayed for lice yet?
Third class only.
Yes.
Yeah, first class, you don't have to worry.
No.
Anybody who's first class. Yeah.
But if you're third class, you'll need to go below deck. See the nurse take care of that, if you will. And stay below deck with your own people and not fraternize with the first and second class. It's not proper, you know.
Yeah.
Other than that, we're so happy to have all you first and second class passengers on board the Titanic.
Thank you, Captain.
Okay.
So we're going to walk inside here. We start dealing with the objects in the cases have to do here, beginning with some of the passengers, who they were. You'll see some stories of the people who were on board the ship, where they were going, where they were coming. You see the final phases of construction. This great image here was taken to the dry dock of the 3 propellers. The Titanic was called the triple screw steamer because of these 3 propellers in the back. I think it was 16 feet and 20 feet of the diameter of those enormous propellers. You see the little people down next to it. So we're going to walk on board now. For those of you, as the captain said, if you were third class, you're really not supposed to come this way, but we're going to bring you anyway. We're going to bring you into the first class hallway.
Oh, amazing.
So ships didn't look like this back in the day. So this was very opulent, very elegant, the latest and greatest. We had electricity on board the ship. There was running water on board the ship. There were toilet facilities on board the ship. Things that, you know, it's kind of, you know, similar to, look at the Marina Bay Sands Hotel. I mean, it's like, you know, the latest, greatest. This was the latest, greatest, most amazing, exciting thing happening at the time. So now we're going to walk into what we call the passenger gallery. Hello.
Hi, how
are you?
How are you today?
Good, thank you. Welcome to first class.
Oh, thank you.
So we are, I don't know if you guys can hear me or not, but we are now in what we call the passenger gallery, and we introduce you to the various classes, focusing here on the first class and the second class. So the first class cabins on board the Titanic, if you take a look at this poster here, the cost of a first class ticket on Titanic was about $2,500 US then, which would be about $112,000 today. So it was as, thank you, as opulent as it got. Running water, sinks in the rooms, the millionaire suites with special china made for the millionaires. Every class had a different set of china, so every effort was taken to make sure these people were taken care of on board the Titanic. This here is a recreation of the Veranda Cafe. There were two large outdoor cafes on board the Titanic, the Café Parisien and the Veranda Cafe. So here you see examples of the second class china, the first class china, some of the crystal that was on board the ship. Obviously, I should say, everything you see in a case was at the bottom of the ocean and recovered. Anything else you see that's recreated was obviously part of the theater of telling the story. But this plate right here is very significant. This is from the Millionaire Suite. It was made specifically for that. The other first class china you see here and here. You'll see second class china and a third class bowl. So each class of service had their own dishware. Most of it was made by Spode, so very high-end. What you're standing on here now, what you'll see in the next room, was the latest, greatest, coolest thing, which was linoleum. And it was really, everybody loved it. They had to have it. They spent the extra money because, it was more expensive than marble, but that's what they had to have on the Titanic. So you see examples of different dishware, some clothing from one of the stewards, a steward jacket. Here we talk about the promenade deck. We talk about the Turkish bath and the gym, swimming pools. I mean, none of this was on board any of the ships at the time. It was exciting. And then, if you were first class, you were lucky enough to come into here, which was the hub for first class activities.
Well, that is a movie.
So come on inside. So welcome to the grand staircase.
Amazing.
This was, many people remember from the film when I walked out, when Leonardo DiCaprio walked down, and the scene in the movie, which turned that Titanic story around and brought so many more people back to it again. In here, we also have a couple of elements where people can get the picture taken, and so you guys, once I keep going, we have some guys here who will take your picture, and you can print it out at the end so you can have that. It's an element to the exhibition. This is obviously reconstructed, but the piece in the back of the room is called a cherub, just like this guy. What we're standing on is the C deck of the Titanic, B deck of Titanic, and this grand staircase would have continued down and down and down, and there was a forward grand staircase and an aft grand staircase. That cherub, I believe, is from the D deck of the aft grand staircase. But we've never found this cherub, but this is reconstruction from all the photographs that were taken and so on. The clock crowning the back wall is honor and glory. So here you are. Welcome to first class and the grand staircase.